Welcome guys, I'm Gio here. Hope you're having a great day. And in this video, we practice some functional programming in JavaScript. So in this series, I'm going to be taking the code snippets from my old projects and we'll be trying to convert them and use functional programming as much as possible. So these are real examples from real projects, and these are not something that I have just come up in my head. This specific snippet here is from a real project, from the older one that I've worked on. We will examine this now and try to make it better by using functional programming. So let me give you the context first and what was going on in the original version. I have changed some meaning and some attributes here, but the overall it's the same. So I was making two API calls. First is returning the list of games, and every game has ID and name, and then this list is used in the UI. And another call is returning list as well, but this list only contains the information about the games that are completed. But the second list here, only returns the ID object, which contains the IDs for the given game. Now, the key thing here we are trying to achieve is that we want to set isCompleted flag for every entry in our games array, in our response, in our primary response. Now, this flag is used inside the UI to display checkbox or something, so this is important. How this is achieved here in our original version? Well, I'm using the for loop here, going over the games, and then for each game, I'm setting this isCompleted flag by using the find method. So let's start writing our changed version, our improved version of this parse response function, and see what can we improve. So we have this ready, our improved function. It's nothing there yet. But first, let's check what this old function returns so we can better analyze what's going on. If I run this, I get the list of games as it is here presented. But for every game, I have flag is completed, and it's true or false depending on whether the current game is in the completed list or not. So that's how it works, and we'll do the same within our improved function. Okay, the first thing I don't like about the original solution is that to generate this flag is completed in for loop, I have to invoke this find call for a completed list. And it's inefficient because every time our for loop executes, I have to go over this list again and again and again to set this flag. And this is inefficient. Instead of going over this array every time I need to set the flag, it would be better if we have some quick way to look up and check the game by ID and see whether it is completed or not. So one way to achieve that is to have object, let's call it completed games. And if in this object we have something like this, then in our loop, whatever loop we'll use, will be very easy to check if game is completed or not. We will just use this completed games object, and it will happen much faster than going over this list again and again and again. So first, let's try to generate this object. So how can we do this? Well, we have array. This is completed, and in this array we have a list of games that are completed, and for every object we have the ID of game that is completed. So we have to take this array and somehow transform it to object. So this transformation is going on, and it can be done in many different ways, but right now this is, I think, a perfect place to use a reduce function. So we have array and we are transforming it into something else, in this case object, and we can use reduce. So let's try to accomplish this first. Okay, let's check the result first, and instead of parse response we will call fp parse response. Run this, and yeah, our object looks good. we have the keys as the ID of the games, and the meaning, the value, that isn't really important. We just want to store these keys here. Okay, now let's look at this and see what's going on. First, we are having our reducer here, and we have our initial value, which is empty object. And then for every call in our reduce, we are taking accumulated value, which is initially this empty object, and then setting the ID of current item as the key on our accumulated object, and just assigning it true. So that's how it works. We are generating completed games. And also note that we aren't using any libraries or anything. This is just a reduce function that works with regular JavaScript arrays. Okay, now we have completed the games. To quickly look up and check the game, if the game is completed or not. Now the next step is to set isCompleted flag for every item in our games list. Now we can use for loop here, but I think it's the best case here to use the map function for games list array. And let's do this. Okay, let's check the result first. And as you see, we have list of games. Witcher is completed because that's in the list. Other games have this flag false. We have Dragon's Dogma is completed true because that's also in the list, and it seems to be working. Now let's analyze this fragment here of our code. So we are using just a very common function, map function, and we are taking every game and just setting isCompleted flag by using our pre-computed completed games object, which we have achieved with reduce. Generally speaking, directly mutating the objects is not a good idea, maybe because some other parts of your app might be using it and it might cause some unexpected results. But in this case, we can just set this because this is the first thing that interacts with the response from our API. So at this point, we are sure that nothing else is using the games list and game here, and we can just directly modify this. Same can be true for this. We are directly modifying accumulated value. Now, is this necessarily better than the first solution? So to answer that question, we have to consider a bigger context. Here in our original version, we are using a for loop and going over our games list. In this case, in our new version, we are using the map function. Now, first thing here, when you look at the code like this one here from a high level, you see games list map. Now you instantly understand that you are generating some other list based on the games list, because that's how usually the map function is used. You are transforming each item from the games list and generating a new list that is depending on the games list. And every item is somehow transformed. Now, if you want to go deeper and understand the details, you can check the map function. And then you understand how the complete list is transformed. And it's very clear instantly. Now, if you look at the for loop, it's not really clear. The for loop can be used in any way. It's not depending on the list. Right now we are using with list, but there can be some number here, some counter. Any number of things can be expected inside the for loop body. And to really understand what this chunk of code serves, you have to go into the very specific details. Well, in this case, if you want to have a general understanding of what this section does, you can just look at this and understand, oh well, I get it. Games list is transformed in some way. Now, if I'm interested in the specifics, then I can check the map function and it's everything is clear. Same here. We could have generated completed games with the for loop, but again, inside the body of for loop we can expect anything, any number of things can be going on here. But when we're using reduce on a list, it is usually because we are transforming the list into something else, maybe some string, maybe some number, maybe object. And if we want to know what this list is transformed into, we just have to look at the initial value. And it's in this case object. Oh yeah, you instantly know that, okay, this list is going to be transformed into an object. And that's clear. Now, how this is transformed? Well, we can check the reducer function. So when you look at this code, you can instantly understand what's going on a higher level. Then if you need to, you can go into the details and find specifics in very specific areas. Reducer here, mapper function here. While in this case, we have used the for loop, anything can go there. It can be hard to read. So this is where you gain the benefits in the long run when you're writing the code such way. It is the keys in the thought process when you look at this code versus this code. And yeah, even in this small case, even small example, we can already see the benefits. And when you're working on a large project where you have many different parts of your app, if you follow these common patterns as map, filter, reduce, all of that, it's very easy to navigate your code and add new features or fix bugs or do maintenance. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Click the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. In future videos, I will take some more complex examples from my older projects. If you want, you can send me your code snippets as well, and I can try to transform it into more functional way. So that's it.